What's going on, everybody? This is Andrew with the American Dad Podcast. You have tuned in to the one of the best podcasts for dads in America. So there you go. You're welcome. If you're just tuning in, I am usually not this arrogant. I'm just messing with you guys. I have an associate's in dadology and a bachelor's in parenting advice. Beware of both. I am starting a challenge, guys. If you're new to the podcast, I basically talk about struggles that I have as a dad, or I have some kind of, position on a certain topic or something. Something that'll offend somebody. I'm typically doing. It's going to offend somebody. I figure if I'm going to do the podcast, I wouldn't be doing anybody favors if I just tiptoe around issues, or if I don't really tell you what I'm thinking, because you can get that tiptoey stuff anywhere, right? Where they just, the comments, or where they're just trying to make everybody happy. I don't go out of my way to offend anybody. It's just kind of natural. So again, you're welcome. It just seems to happen. My positions are, either you're with me or you just don't agree with me at all. And, I don't know. This is kind of how it is, but would you rather listen to somebody who, would you rather listen to somebody that's real, or just somebody that just, appeases you all the time? Hopefully it's the guy that's real, and, you get what you get with me. So, what I'm going to do, what I've decided, because work's been slow, and I need to really pick up my podcasting game, is I'm going to go for 5 days and 5 podcasts at the very minimum. So that's my goal. So this week of November, this first week of November here, it's the 2nd as I'm recording this right now. At least I have an hour before. It's not the 2nd anymore. Of December 2013, I'm going to go for 5 days straight. And whatever I got to do to make sure that there's a podcast in the hopper for you guys to listen to for 5 days in a row, at least, I'm going to do. And so you're just going to get a variety of stuff. You're just going to get me, yada, 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 talking about some cool stuff and how I want to be a better dad, and the things that I'm learning, and pointing the finger at that dad saying, oh, he stinks. No, I'm just kidding. I won't do that, but I'm certainly going to have some opinions on some things. I'm going to try to expand my horizons with these topics for you guys, and we'll see where it goes. So what I wanted to do for this very first podcast of the 5 or 6 series, however long we go, I wanted to talk about kind of like a recap on some of the stuff that's happened with the wrestling. When I last talked about it, my kids were just getting in there. My daughter had convinced me to sign them up for wrestling. My son was hesitant, and he was very worried about getting hurt. His only real access to the word wrestling was WWE wrestling, WWF for us old guys. But WWE, the ladder matches, and the flipping off the ropes, and John Cena, I had the WWE wrestling game for him to play on the Xbox. So that's what he was exposed to. So, when we're talking about wrestling, he's like, no, Dad, that's dangerous. I'm like, son, I'm gonna want to protect you. I'm not gonna let you get hurt. You're only 5. I'm gonna watch over you. And long story short, he ends up saying, "Okay, I'll wrestle." So as I get into wrestling, I started to learn some things about where I am as a parent, what I need to work on. And it's when you see your kids interact. You kind of know where they are and where you've put them in a sense. And so when I see my daughter doing exercise, now of course she's 9, and so she's got a little more experience in life, and she's interacted with more kids and socialized more because she's just been doing it longer. She acclimated very well to like the exercises and do a somersault or do a cartwheel. These are all things that she's done, in her life so far. My son, on the other hand, at 5 years old, the most that I rough house with my son is, I tickle him and, I don't want to hurt him. I'm like, I'm a big guy as it is, and he's just a little guy, and I never want to, wrestle to the point where he accidentally gets hurt. I'm just careful like that, and maybe to his detriment that I didn't roughhouse with him enough, and kind of teach him how to do these, somersaults and cartwheels, when other kids his age are doing that. So when they're doing the exercises and stuff, and they ask the wrestlers, the kids that are wrestlers, to do these moves, my son looks at me with this panic face, like, "What are they talking about, Dad?" Like, and then he's kind of scared because he doesn't want to be that one kid that doesn't know how to do it. And I'm sympathizing with him automatically. So when he gives me that panic face, like, "Oh, Dad, I don't know," I run over there and I'll do the whatever it is, the cartwheel, or I'll say, "Hey, watch these other kids do it first, and then you try it. And if you get it wrong, it doesn't matter. No, you're not going to get hurt. It's not a race." And so I try to, because everybody wants to race, no matter what exercise they're doing. They run back and forth on the mats and doing whatever. And there was points where he felt like he was losing, even though it wasn't a race. And then he gets upset and he gets sad. And, what I kind of realized, I mean, I know he's 5 years old, but there's other young kids in there that are not feeling these emotions. And it just kind of broke my heart a little bit, like those first few days. And so I really had to step up and make sure he was up to speed on what to expect. Like, "Okay, Carter, here's, I know you've never done a sit-up, son, but here's a sit-up. And I'm going to do my best because I'm 260 pounds, but I'll do my best to show you, son. Or here's a push-up, and this is how I want you to do it." And they're not going to look like great push-ups because I haven't done very many lately since getting out of the Army. So that's 10 years. That's one of the things I realized is that he just wasn't exposed to a lot. And I could have been the guy or the dad to expose him to that. And so, yeah, that's one of the things I learned. One of the other things I learned is, he is 5. And I'll be honest with you, if I was 5 years old, starting wrestling again, I would be terrified. I wasn't necessarily roughhoused either as a kid. My dad probably did the same thing I've done with my son. And so, I was roughhoused a lot. So, even when I was 9, when I first started wrestling, I didn't like getting banged around, but I did it, because I didn't want to lose or whatever. But again, I was 9 when I started. He's 5. So, I don't know. I told him, I told my wife I would have been terrified at 5 years old, and I think he's very brave for doing what he's doing, because that's tough. You're going from an environment where you never get roughhoused, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to roughhouse with you and hurt you in a sense, not purposely, but you get tackled, you get taken down, your head hits the ground sometimes, and it's padded, but go from never having done that to all of a sudden it's happening every 3 times a week. It's I don't know, it's gonna be traumatic, I think, a little bit, but so yeah, that's one of the things that he's going through. What else did he go through? I noticed that there are times when he's wrestled where he's been really down, like he's not winning, like the practice matches, right, where they're going kind of like 3/4 wrestling speed, and he's not winning, and he gets really down, and he's like, "Dad, I'm not very good at this." And that's where I get a chance to jump in as a dad and go, "Carter, all I want you to do is try, son. Just try. And as long as you try and don't give up, that's all I care about. I don't care if you win. It's your first year. It doesn't matter to me. I just want you to try. And as long as you're trying, I don't care." And I have to keep reemphasizing that to him, to let him know that I'm still proud of him. I still love him. And even those little things that he does right, I praise him heavily for it. Like, "Oh man, when you did that move, you almost had him that one time." Or, even though he's not winning, I gotta keep him. If it's like Debbie Downer all the time, why would he ever want to do it again? If I'm coming down on him constantly, it just doesn't make for a good environment for him to want to do. If that was any sport, not necessarily just wrestling. And so that's something I'm really working on. Not that I have to work on it. I've noticed that I just need to make sure I do it because it makes all the difference in his attitude. What else here? Yeah, he does not like getting hurt. Like, there'll be a group of kids around his age, even a year older kid, a kid that's 6 or even just in first grade, is much more physically stronger than him, enough more maturity in the muscles and coordination to where, he kind of have the advantage on my son, and and he gets taken down, and so he almost picks out who he wants to wrestle because he knows he's not going to get hurt by certain kids because they're not as aggressive or as rough. And I kind of keep my eye out, like, no, you're not going to wrestle my son. You'll wrestle this kid. And I've kind of have some control as a coach too. I have some discretion because really in the big scheme of things, when it's all said and done, after this year passes, I want my son to want to do it again. I want him not to be afraid of doing it. I want him to have a good experience and enjoy the time that that he's doing it. He's making friends, or even the time with with his sister and myself and his mom doing this sport. As a family. Those are the memories he's going to have forever. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know if he's going to remember now, but if he keeps doing it, he will remember. Just like I have memories, and that's what it's all about, right? What else? That's basically it. So that's what I'm working on. So there's plenty of opportunities for me to be encouraging for my son. Even when I've had conversations with the coach that's kind of in charge of everything, I'm like, yeah, I just want him to come back next year. I just want him to, I just want him to have a good time, and just come back next year. He's like, yep, that's what it's all about. Okay. At least we're all on the same page. So my daughter, is just one of those young ladies that never ceases to amaze me. And there's been opportunities for me with her as well. But here's the one thing that's happening is kindergartners are creating first graders, kindergartners. Sometimes the parents just aren't there to control their kids. They'll drop them off, or they just won't be paying attention, and they kind of leave it up to the coaches that are out there to control their kids. So I have to kind of be around my son to make sure chaos doesn't happen. And there's some kind of control happening between like wrestling matches or even just practicing moves. And so what happens is there's some neglect happening on my daughter because I have to pay so much attention to these younger guys that, she's with some older, kids wrestling and other coaches are assisting her. But I know that she wants that attention from me. She wants that help. Not all the time, because we have these talks where every time I try to tell her something, she's like, I know, Dad. I know how to do that. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. And sometimes, so if I tell her something, she doesn't necessarily always listen right away. But if another coach tells her, she's like, very attentive. And I know I'm not the only dad going through that. I've talked to other dads out there who have kids and daughters, sons and daughters around the same age, and they're both going through the same thing where if they tell them how to do something, they don't listen. Another coach comes by and they pay perfect attention and do it just right. So, again, it's just something that you go through. But my main focus is to make sure my daughter gets just as much of attention during, as much as I can. Because I actually had to set her down and explain to her before she even asked. I said, honey, one of the reasons I'm not coming over there to help you as much is because of, the crazy kids around your brother. And I've got to control that chaos. And, she's like, I know, Dad. I know. She's like, just if, basically was asking, making sure I could watch her from time to time. And, and I try to come over and help her as much as possible. So, they're always looking though. They're always looking for that, acknowledgement and that attention and that, the good job. When appropriate. She's tough. She got, I knew she was tough, but like, I put like wrestling in like a different category. It's not like, I'm not saying that other sports aren't tough, but I mean, wrestling's tough. It's you get slammed and you get your face thrown to the ground and knees in the face and all kinds of, crazy things happen during wrestling. And I know they happen in other sports too, but wrestling's tougher. So there you go. So she got kneed in the face the other day, and I was right there in the area, and she started crying. And, I had her come stand with me for just a little bit, and she didn't want to sit there very long. She wanted to go back to her group that she was wrestling with and sucked it up. And, so she needed the nose or something. And she sucked it up, and she went back in and wrestled again. I was like, I might have been out for the rest of the night if my nose hurt that bad. I might have been like, yeah, I'm done. But no, she didn't want to miss out on anything, so she got back into it. And so we went to these tournaments, and there's not enough girls to wrestle, even though I think a lot of this female wrestling stuff started 20 years ago when I was in high school, and I thought the ball really would have been rolling further. After 20 years, and I know that the sport's expanded quite a bit to girls because there are a lot of girls still wrestling out there, but there's just not enough to just fill it up a division of just girls. So she has to wrestle the boys, and they're stronger and they're faster, and sometimes even just more coordinated. And so, my daughter's just sticking it out with them. Just, she's not winning, but she's not quitting, and she's fighting just so hard. I mean, it's just amazing. And I see big things for her if she sticks with it. I don't know. She's one of those kids that wants to try everything to figure out what they want, what they like. She's already kind of made some, maybe she's bracing me that she might stop wrestling someday. I always kind of like, do you not like it? Do you want to quit? And she's like, no, I like it, but I still want to try other things. So I don't think she wants me to, trap her into this wrestling thing, because, I love wrestling. And so she probably realizes that and doesn't want to disappoint me. And my son, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I get really worried about him, because I didn't know how it was going to be in the tournaments for him, because I didn't have as much control in regards to who he's going to wrestle, and I couldn't stop the match if I wanted to. And thank goodness I took a coaching class, which really is don't act stupid in tournament class, which I wish I would have taken prior to, when I coached my brother in high school, because Lord knows I did some stupid things then. But so the good thing, referees for the younger kids are very aware of, them getting hurt and things like that. And I didn't freak out on anybody, and wasn't super overprotective. But my son, he seemed to, he wasn't ever in control of any matches, but he didn't give up. He for some reason, the kid has a smile on his face when he's in the middle of matches, and I don't know if he's just happy to be there, or he's, I'm giving him the thumbs up and he's acknowledging that with a smile. I don't know. But and long story short, it was just a blast these past couple of weeks. Even after both times doing it, after both, of the tournaments, they're still very interested in doing it. The last tournament they got medals. So, I'm always learning something more about them. And then when I'm learning more about them, I find out more areas I need to, or I can fill in and parent and, be supportive and learn, teaching moments. And I'll be honest with you, I probably would have missed a lot of this if they weren't in a sport. Like, if they weren't, and particularly, wrestling. There's so many things I didn't know about my son that he needed to learn, and I needed to tell him at this moment that I would have never known without this. And I knew my daughter was tough, and I knew, and things like that, but I didn't know how tough, and I'm learning very quickly how tough she is, and she still needs acknowledgement from me, and she needs to know that I love her and I'm proud of her, and that of course I don't care if she wins or loses. I just want her to try, and that's, and she's never not tried. So I never really had to reinforce that. So, I think we got about a month or two of wrestling. I don't know if we're going to hit every tournament. I've got to work and stuff here and there from time to time, so I don't know if that's always going to work out. But the kids are enjoying it. My wife, she's just being a trooper with these family times at the tournaments, and videotaping the kids, and so I can scream and be a coach and take pictures at the same time, and it's a blast. So, while we're on this sports thing, and I wish I had the article, and it's my computer crashed. I'm actually on a different computer now. I'm running this podcast off a different computer, and I'm trying to get all my computer stuff backed up as we speak. So I can recover all the data. But I read this article on that other computer, and I had it saved there, where it talked about overprotective parents. And I wish I had something, but there was something in there, and it talked about how they actually gave a specific date when overprotective parenting kind of kicked in, which I thought was very bold to say, in this year is when overprotective parents began. I thought that was whatever. I thought it was crap. Because I think that parents continually are learning from their experiences, and they're trying to improve on their experiences with their parents. So, your life as a child is much better than your parents' life because they didn't want to be a parent like their parent was, or they took the good and the bad. I think you get what I'm saying. But so but in this article, to backtrack a little bit here, in this article, it talked about how almost downplayed the fact that I guess, or it said it in a negative way, like, yeah, parents are sticking their kids in sports now and are filling up their time with other things, and it was like music and all this other stuff, and like it was a bad thing. Like, that's our way of being overprotective. Well, I mean, have you ever heard of a kid being like, "Oh man, my life was so bad, man. My parents, they cared about me, and they took me to basketball practice every week, or they took me to wrestling practice. Oh, it was so horrible, and now I'm just a good adult now. How dare they?" No, they take their kids out of, idle time, where they're going to get in trouble and they're going to do stupid things. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, kids are still going to do stupid stuff, even if we stick them in sports. But at least we're occupying their mind with, it's not idle. It's busy. I'm sure back in the day, when you literally just worked to get food, kids didn't have time to, rob and do bad things. And I'm sure they did bad things, but they had to work to get their food every day. That's how they got their food. And so they didn't have time. And I know that probably doesn't connect very well this, but I think you get the point of what I'm trying to say. So I don't know. I don't have the article here, so I don't have much to go on, but I just thought, as I think to myself, the audacity of the writer to even try to say that putting their kids in sports is a bad thing. I just wanted to slap them. I mean, really? Are you new? Really? I don't know. And also, I mean, while we're on the sporting things, if you're a parent out there, and if you have the time, put your kid in a sport. It doesn't matter what it is, and just make them finish it. Even if they say they don't want to do it, just make them. They're kids, and they need to get out and they need to exercise. They need to meet other people, and learn about sportsmanship and dealing with wins and losses. I just think I personally, as a dad, as a parent, thinks it just, if you can do it, do it. And if they get through the whole season, they don't want to do that sport anymore. Okay, well then put them in something else. Maybe put them in swimming, or I don't know. I have a nephew doing golf. He actually wrestled, and he thought he didn't like wrestling. Wrestling wasn't for him. So his parents are like, all right, we'll put you in golf. Well, that's great. I think that's awesome. And if golf doesn't work out, I'm sure they'll find something else to put them into. They're not trying to not spend time with them. They're just trying to keep them involved with physical activity, and I think it's great. But just something to think about. I know kids out there say they don't want to do things sometimes, and then when they finally get a chance to do it, they're fine. I was probably one of those kids. So, anyways, I think that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. And this 25-minute podcast. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you guys for listening. And I will talk to you soon. Oh, by the way, so I don't forget, if you guys are readers and you like to listen to books, go to audible.com. But actually, there's a special deal. Don't just go to audible.com. You want to go to audibletrial.com/American Dad Podcast. And there you will find a special deal where you'll get a free book, and it's good for forever. You get the free book, and if you want to stay with the service, I don't know, I think it's like $7 a month. I'm not quite sure. You get like a book a month, and I'm up to 2, so I enjoy it because I'm on the road a lot sometimes. So, anyways, check that out. Otherwise, I will chat with you guys later. You guys take care, and I guess I'll talk to you tomorrow. All right, bye-bye. Hey, so thanks again for watching the video, and I would highly... Hey, thanks again for watching the video. I would highly recommend going down there and clicking that subscribe button. There's a ton of videos always coming out. Sometimes they're podcast videos, sometimes they're review videos, sometimes they're tip videos, you name it. I'm making videos. So if you would... just go ahead and click that thing, click that button. Did you click it yet? No? Is your mouse broken? Are you using one of those touch pads? Listen, I don't have all day, but I can sit here a little bit longer if you want. All right then. Awkward. Thanks for watching.